السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا Muhammad وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All praise is due to Allah. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon His final messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as He deserves to be praised, praiseworthy. Welcome to another session of Ramadan Islamic Perspective, where we answer the questions regarding fasting, Ramadan, Taraweeh, Zakah, and Umrah. We seek aid in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us to say what is right, to aid us in saying what is right, and we ask Him subhanahu wa ta'ala to protect us from making mistakes and from the evil of our actions. We seek aid in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for starting with the first question for today. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. If a person swallows his saliva without a need, does it break the fast? What about using mouthwash and gargling with salt water while fasting? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. The matter of swallowing saliva, subhanAllah, Allah Azza wa Jal has made it easy. Our religion is not complicated. Our religion can be applied everywhere and anywhere. Can be applied by those who are young and those who are old. Saliva, imagine if saliva was not permissible. This is impossible. Who can apply this? No matter how much you swallow of your saliva, this does not affect your fasting. Even if you collected the saliva in your mouth and then you swallowed, it does not affect your fasting. Okay? So you don't need to worry about this, and you don't need to do waswasa regarding this matter. Don't overthink these things. Our religion is simple. Subhanallah, you put water in your mouth when doing madmada, washing your mouth, and then you spit it out. There definitely will be some traces, and you can, no matter how much you spit, there will be some traces. And these traces, subhanAllah, without you even knowing, might enter the throat, and this is negligible. This does not affect your fasting. So, alhamdulillah, swallowing the saliva does not affect your fasting, and even if it was collected in your mouth and then swallowed, does not affect your fasting. Now, regarding using mouthwash and gargling with salt water while fasting, the matter of mouthwash, of course, itself being in the mouth does not break your fast. Even if a person did wash his mouth with mouthwash, which he does with water when performing wudu, this in itself does not break your fast. But a mouthwash, you might be inclined, to swallow some, or it might stay and then you might swallow something. So here, we do not recommend you doing this. We do not recommend you doing this because we don't want you to put your fasting in danger. But even if you did not intend and accidentally something went in without you being careless, this does not affect your fasting. But what I'm worried about is, during the day, you always feel the taste in your mouth, and you'll say to yourself, whenever you want to swallow, you say, maybe I swallowed something, and then you'll be in doubt, and you'll have a very bad day. You won't be able to concentrate on anything. The same thing with what you have mentioned here, gargling with salt water. Again, gargling with salt water. Gargling itself, if you did not swallow, then it's permissible. But the issue is, it does not break your fast. But the issue is, you're really putting your fasting in danger. Because if you were careless and you intentionally swallowed something, this breaks your fast. Number one. Number two, salt in your mouth while fasting, this is not a good idea. Because you might be already thirsty. And if you have a dry mouth and salt in your mouth, subhanAllah, you will be more inclined to feel that you want to have a drink. And this will affect you in a bad way. So definitely I do not recommend. My advice, if you had a sore throat or something, do all of this before suhoor and after iftar. And during this day, alhamdulillah, since you're fasting, inshallah, this in itself, if you intend the reward, even if you find some hardship, you'll be rewarded for this hardship. So you'll be rewarded for your fasting, and you will be rewarded extra reward for this hardship that you find in trying to preserve your fasting. But if it was, for example, a throat infection, or if it was something very serious like a strep throat, which is strep infection, and you have a high fever, this is something very serious. It has to be treated, otherwise it's dangerous for your life. It might cause extreme dehydration. In this case, of course, you should go to the doctor and take medication, even if it means breaking your fast, because there's a harm. Not taking medication, prolonging this infection, will be very harmful for your health. especially the high fever and dehydration that is accompanied with this. So if that was the case, definitely it's permissible for you to break your fast and to take what you need in terms of medication without any issues, without any sins, alhamdulillah, and you can make up a day for that after Ramadan, inshaAllah. طيب, Bismillah. Let's go for the next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can a person read from the Quran in Taraweeh prayer? Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala Rasulillah. So you said the person is asking, can a person read from the Quran in Taraweeh prayer? Now this could be one of two things. Are you talking about opening the Quran or the mobile phone while the Imam is reciting and you looking at the Quran? This is not recommended, because this is extra actions in prayer that have nothing to do with the prayer. And some madhabs, this might even invalidate your worship. This might even invalidate your worship. So this extra action that you do, subhanAllah, you might be doing a lot of actions, okay, taking from the mobile phone and then opening it and then doing this. The sunnah is to hold the right, to hold the left to the right. You'll be doing this the whole time. So this is definitely not the sunnah. You're going to leave a sunnah for this, and there's no need for this unless you were the person behind the imam and you were trying to correct the imam if he made a mistake. So he told you, look, if I make a mistake, you correct me, and you're looking at a mushaf. This is permissible, inshallah, because there's a need for this in Taraweeh and not obligatory prayer. So this is the first scenario. If you're talking about this, then this is the ruling. If there was a need, and this need is for the benefit of the prayer, like the imam, if he makes a mistake, he forgets an ayah, you will shout out or you recite this ayah for the imam so that he can correct himself, and you have the mushaf in front of you. Here there's a need. So, but if it was for you and you say, no, wallah, I want to see what the imam is reciting, no, this is not a need. This is not a need, and you should not do it. And if you see someone doing it, so tell him in a good way, with wisdom. Tell him, ya akhi, this is not the sunnah. The sunnah is to hold your hands and you just listen to the Quran. Just listen to the Quran. These extra movements, and you're risking your prayer. You're risking, because these are extra movements that have nothing to do with the prayer, and there's no need for them. So, subhanallah. Now we move on to the other aspect that you mentioned. The other aspect is, what if this recitation of the Quran was for yourself? Yani you're looking at the Quran reciting in Taraweeh. So you wake up at night, you don't memorize much Quran, you memorize 2-3 juz, but you want to recite a lot, 3-4 juz in the Quran. So can you stand up reciting and looking at the Quran in front of you? Yes, that's permissible. Can you hold the Quran and recite, and then you have a table next to you, you put the Quran and then continue worship? Inshallah, this is also permissible. Because here there's a need. In Taraweeh prayer, you want to pray as much as possible, especially in the final 10 nights. You want to read more than 1 juz. You want to stand up and do a lot of worship. Yes, this might aid you, and this will aid you, inshallah, if you don't memorize properly. Or even if you memorize, you want to check some verses at times. This is, inshallah, permissible. And this is for the benefit of the prayer. There's no issues. But not in fard prayer, except in one condition. So for fard prayer, there is no need to recite a lot of Quran in fard prayer. So a person does not need to look at the Quran, except for one situation. That is a new Muslim who still did not memorize Al-Fatiha, and he wants to read the Fatiha in his own in Arabic so that he can perform his prayer. This is also a way to help him memorize the Quran, to help him memorize Surah Al-Fatiha, and he wants to read the other adhkar of prayer. This helps him, so it's permissible for him only in this situation because of the need. Other than a new Muslim who does not know what is required from him, it's not permissible for normal people to do this in obligatory prayer, because you're not required to read a lot in obligatory prayer. So for a new Muslim, he can have a paper or this verse, the Surah Al-Fatiha written for him, and he can recite it in prayer to practice and to memorize reciting it. Wallahu alam. طيب. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you explain how to perform Eid prayer properly? The details like raising the hands and shouting the takbirs in Salah. طيب. Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalam ala Rasulillah. So this person is asking about Eid prayer and the methodology of Eid prayer and some of the details of this prayer. طيب. First of all, the Eid prayer, what is the ruling? Eid prayer is a sunnah mu'akkad, that's an emphasized sunnah that everyone should try his best to perform. You know, some scholars even say that it's a wajib, it's an obligation of every Muslim. But wallahu alam, the opinion that it's a very important sunnah is a bit stronger. How do you perform it? Does it have an adhan? No. Does it have an iqama? No. How many units? It's 2 units. It is 2 units prayed with the jama'ah, if you attended the jama'ah, or by a person by himself, he missed the jama'ah. How do you do it? It is 7, and now there's a dispute in the number of takbirs, we'll explain this. It's an opening takbir, opening takbir, Allahu Akbar, and then you recite dua al-istiftah, the opening supplication of prayer, Allahumma ba'ad bayni bayna wa khatayai, or subhanaka Allahumma bihamdik tabarak ismuk ta'ala jadduk wa la ilaha ghayruk, any of the du'as. And then you do, before seeking refuge, before isti'adha, before saying a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, you do 6 takbirs. And the sunnah, as Umar or some of the companions said, is to raise the hand. So Allahu Akbar, opening takbir, and then you supplicate the opening supplication. Now you do 6 takbirs. So Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, and Allahu Akbar. I don't know if I counted 6 or not. So 6 takbirs, okay? And now you seek refuge, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, you recite Surah Al-Fatiha. And the sunnah is to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, so to recite Sabbih Isma Rabbika Al-A'la, the first unit, and Hal Ataka Hadith Al-Ghashi, and the second unit. So in total, it's 7 takbirs, including the opening takbir. Including Takbirat Al-Ihram, it is what? 7 takbirs. 6 takbirs separate, and 1 takbir, Takbirat Al-Ihram, 7. Now you complete your unit. Normally, just like every prayer. Now, when you stand up for the second unit, so Allahu Akbar, now you stood up. You stood up. Now you said Allahu Akbar, transitional takbir, you stood up straight. Now how many takbirs you do? 5 takbirs. So with the transitional takbir, it's 6. Without counting the transitional takbir, it's another 5 takbirs. And we said raising the hands, it's a matter of dispute. Many of the companions, their opinion is to raise the hands in these takbirs. Okay. Now you said that shouting takbirs in salah. There is no shouting in salah. You do not shout. It's just like every other prayer. Just like every other prayer. Like for example, in normal prayer, when you do takbir, the Imam says Allahu Akbar, you say silently Allahu Akbar. In a voice that does not bother those around you, say Allahu Akbar, and you go, for example, ruku', normal prayer. In Salat al-Eid, same thing. The Imam says Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. You say the same thing, but in a sound, not raising your voice, in a sound for yourself. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Like this, okay? So there's no shouting of the takbirs in Salah itself. So 7 takbirs with the opening takbir. This is the first unit. In the second unit, transitional takbir, and then 5 takbirs. So if you want to count them, it's 7 in the first, including the opening takbir, 6 in the second, including the transitional takbir. Transitional takbir is the takbir that you do from sujood to stand up straight, okay? Now, after you finish the Eid prayer, there'll be a sermon, a khutbah. The Imam will go on the minbar, okay? And he will give a khutbah of Eid. Now, is it an obligation to listen to this khutbah? It's not like Jum'ah khutbah. All of the scholars, most of them will say this is preferred. Aslan, the whole prayer is preferred. So sitting for the khutbah is preferred. But definitely it's more rewarding for you to sit for the khutbah and to listen to the dua and to listen to the takbir of the Imam. To listen to the takbir of the Imam. Okay? So this is the details regarding the Eid prayer. And if you came late to the prayer and you attended one of the units, you should make up the other units similar to the form that we mentioned. Okay? And these additional takbirs, you might find some scholars having different opinions. Is it 7 takbirs in the first unit, not including the opening takbir? So any opinion, it's all valid. It's all inshallah jaiz. It's all valid. Even if you made a mistake, you counted less takbirs, you added more takbirs by mistake, it's valid, no problem. As long as, of course, you got the opening takbir, takbirat al-ihram, this is khalas, rukun. طيب. Other than that, if you made a mistake adding more or less because you didn't count properly, it's valid. Okay, and even if the Imam made a mistake with the number of takbirs. Instead of doing 7, he did 5. And the second unit, instead of doing 6 altogether, he did 4. There is no sujood sahu. There is no sujood sahu, and the prayer is valid. And please do not make any problem regarding this. All these additional takbirs are mustahab. Okay? طيب. Move on to our next question. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I heard that all women must attend Eid prayer, even those in their menses. But why, Sheikh? They will not pray. How will they benefit? طيب. Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah. The sister is saying that, or his brother is saying that all women must attend Eid prayer, even those in their menses. We said that Eid prayer, attending Eid prayer, the opinion that we chose is that it is a very strong sunnah that everyone should do, because there's so much khair and barakah in that day. طيب. So she's saying even those in their menses. Well, yes, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ commanded all the women to go and attend. Those, even the young girls who are in their houses that don't go out, they should go for Eid prayer, imagine. And even the women in their menses and postpartum bleeding, if they're able to go and attend, just go and attend. طيب. But they were not going to pray, of course. Obviously, those in their menses and women in their postpartum bleeding, they won't be able to pray. But they go and attend the gathering of the people, and they hear the takbirs of the people. What takbir? We know that the sunnah from Maghrib, once they see the moon of Shawwal, we start engaging in takbir. Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, Lillahi alhamd. The hearing of takbirs, this to show happiness and gratitude towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for blessing us with ending Ramadan and with a worship, inshallah, that is accepted. So we engage in takbir, thanking Allah, glorifying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, all the way until you go and attend the prayer itself, until you go and attend Eid prayer. Okay, so this is all part of the sunnah. And subhanallah, the Messenger Muhammad ﷺ, when he told them they should all go and attend, it is لِيَشْهَدُوا بَرَكَةَ ذَلِكَ, so to go and attain the blessing of the dua of that day. Okay, and to hear the takbirs on that day. So there is a blessing in that day. طيب. And there are some other things. We're going to give a short explanation of these matters, inshallah. We'll leave it for next episode. This is what we have for today. Inshallah, with this we will end. هذا والله أعلم وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. جزاكم الله خيرا.